What's good, YouTube? This Details TV, and this is going to be an overview for Raising Kanan Season 5, Episode 2. It's pretty obvious that this is just a build-up episode for what's to come for the rest of the season, so I'm going to just run through it all. So we start out with Unique catching up with Jerome and Pernessa at some undercover house. Pernessa's trying to convince Unique that they can leave the Southside behind. Unique is telling her that the Southside is all he knows and that he's going to die over there. Pernessa isn't with that mindset at all, and Jerome doesn't even want to speak to Unique. Now, Jerome has been through a lot, because in Season 1, Marvin shot up Unique's car and Jerome was inside. Along with that, he got grabbed up by Lou and Birilla, so I can understand how he's feeling. Now we skip to Phil Russo at his house with his wife. I think ever since the failed attempt on taking out Stefano, we all know Phil Russo has been on borrowed time for sure. In this was the episode we finally see him get taken out. One of his men backdoored him. He drove him out to an open space and then got out the car, and everybody started shooting him. And we go to Kanan's apartment where he's letting his soldiers know that they're going to link up with Breeze. As this is happening, two cops bust into the door who's on Rock's payroll and hold Kanan at gunpoint. They take him to some random place where they basically let him know, like, your operation is done. If they catch him cooking again or dealing, they're going to be back. Now, Kanan still believes that Rock is the one that put down Famous and hired the cops to do it. So he was telling them, like, are you going to put me down just like y'all did Famous? But they don't know what he's talking about because we know it was Snaps and Pop that gave the order to two different cops. Now, this should let Kanan know that it might have not been Rock, but we know he's too blinded by his hatred for Rock to think otherwise. Now, Rock meets with Stefano and lets him know that they can still make money together. Stefano doesn't care and doesn't want anything to do with Rock or Marvin. Rock lets Stefano know that he's not the only game in town. Stefano lets her know that if he catches her doing business on any parts of Queens, that he'll have hitters sent out for her. So at this point, Rock is totally cut out of Queens. Rock and Marvin have a meet and they're talking about how they're going to move all this weight from the Afghans. Now, Marvin is still heated because he believes that Unique is the one that put down Lou. And Unique is still breathing, so Marvin's trying to figure out why Rock isn't on the same timing as him. Rock's letting him know that she has to find a way to get the Afghans off their backs. To be honest, I understand both sides because Marvin does have to understand that this is a problem that he created that Rock has to clean up. If he would have never done the business with Stefano in the first place, then they probably wouldn't be in this position. Rock lets Marvin know that they're going to be moving to Manhattan. They're going to move their way through Lou's old club. And like Marvin said, Lou definitely wouldn't mess with this if he was alive. But at the same time, just like Rock said, Lou will want them to stay alive, so they're going to have to do what they have to do. Now, Detective Garcia goes to Aisha's house to question her about Juke. He lets her and her parents know that Juke is into some bad business and asks her what does she know about it. Aisha lets him know that he doesn't know anything, and we all know that's the truth because Juke ain't telling nothing. Now, Garcia's definitely not going to stop until he gets something. And we see that Juke pretty much figures this out because later on in the episode, she pulls up to Garcia's house and was waiting to take him out. Now, this didn't happen at this moment because he was with his family, but I could definitely see it happening within the next couple episodes. When Breeze was going to the meet with Snaps, Pop, Kanan, and Stefano, Taz was with him and asked him should he be a part of that meeting. Now, Taz is Breeze's right hand at the moment, but we know ultimately Kanan will replace him. And he definitely knows this. Like, you can see it in his face when he looks at them. At some point in the season, he will definitely be pushed out of that position for sure. Now, at the meet with Stefano, Snaps, Pop, Kanan, and Breeze, Stefano lets them all know that he has no allegiance to any of them. Now, ultimately, they all understand that. They just wanted Stefano to meet Breeze and Kanan and for him to know that they're a part of their organization. Now, Unique approaches Breeze about them having that meet without him there. You can feel the tension in this scene for sure. Breeze is trying to let him know that they're still partners and that they wasn't really talking about nothing at that meet. Despite him saying that, Unique knows that they're trying to cut him out the business. It's clear as day that the era of Unique and Rock running the Southside is over. It's Kanan and Breeze's time to fill that role until Ghost kills Breeze. Rock meets with the new character, Pino Bernardi, and they're just talking about how their business would look like in Manhattan. Rock lets them know that they can use Flossie Siegel to move her weight. Flossie Siegel is the second new character to have things set up in Manhattan. When Rock and Flossie meet, Flossie lets Rock know that she admires a female entrepreneur. She tells her that this is the main reason that she'll be doing business with her. As Breeze and Kanan is getting things jumping with their operation, Unique pulls up on Kanan. He lets Kanan know that once Breeze, Stefano, Snaps, and Pop don't need use for them, that they'll be taken out. Unique doesn't know that he's the eye man now and that he's the one that's going to get taken out. Kanan lets him know that Breeze and them is going to be running the South Side and that they don't have any work without them. Now, Unique asks Kanan why he didn't bring up anything about Uncle Lou being taken out. The streets is saying Unique did it, and surely Kanan would have heard that. Because of this, Unique basically knows that it was most likely Kanan that did it. He knows that Kanan would have approached him otherwise, just like he did last season when it came to Crystal. Unique and Akbar meet, and Unique lets him know that they're most likely being cut out the business. Akbar lets him know that he's going to hide out in Jersey. Unique lets him know that he can't run away. But then Akbar lets him know that maybe he's running towards something different, maybe something better. I think this was the moment where Unique knew that it was probably over. and that he has to hang his jersey up when it comes to the south side. But he's accepted that, as there's something better that he's running to is his family. And we see he's okay with this, as later on in the episode, he takes Pernessa and Jerome and leaves New York for good. I'm sure this all caught us off guard. I know it definitely caught me off guard. I definitely thought Unique N was going to be in the south side. But if I'm being honest, I like this. I'm a firm believer that not everybody in power has to die. Of course, we know most people will, because that's just the game. Either that or go to jail. But at the same time, there is people that make it out the game. Throughout the episode, Marvin was paying these soldiers to figure out where Unique was hiding out at. And some of them told him about Akbar. So when Marvin pulled up on Akbar and asked him where Unique was, Akbar didn't tell him anything. So Marvin took out Akbar and his soldiers. But none of them could find him because Unique's in the wind. But that's it for this week's recap on Raising Kanan Season 5, Episode 2. I think this was a great build-up episode for what's to come for the rest of the season, and I'm interested to see what happens. So make sure if you have any thoughts or theories, you leave it in the comments.